You just got promoted. First real adult money, $67,000 salary with benefits and everything, and you're standing in a dealership parking lot at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday looking at a Ford F-150 Lariat with leather seats that smell like success and a price tag that makes your checking account nervous. The salesman is doing that thing where he leans against the truck like it's already yours. He asks what you want your monthly payment to be, not can you afford this truck, but what payment works for you. And you're thinking, $800, maybe $900. You've been driving that 2012 Civic for 6 years and it's genuinely embarrassing pulling up to client meetings. This truck would fix that. The salesman smiles. I can make $1,076 work. You sign papers you don't fully read. You drive off feeling like you just upgraded your entire life. What you don't know, what nobody in that dealership has any incentive to tell you, is that you just made a decision that will cost you over $1 million by retirement. My name is Nick, and I'm about to show you the math that dealerships pray you never learn. Let's rewind to why you made this decision, because you're not stupid, you did the mental math. $1,076 a month is less than a lot of people pay for rent. After taxes, that's about 20% of your take-home pay. Financial advisors say you can spend up to 15% on transportation. You're a little over, but not crazy over. Plus, your dad drove a truck. Real men drive trucks. That Civic feels like admitting you're still a kid. Your buddy Jake just bought a Ram 1500 and posts photos every weekend. Lakes, mountains, looking capable. You haven't been to a lake in 4 years, but that's beside the point. The dealership doesn't feel like you're buying transportation. It feels like you're buying membership in the club of people who have their shit together. The salesman keeps saying investment. And on some level, you believe him. Here's what actually just happened. That F-150 has an MSRP of $63,360 with fees, taxes, and the extended warranty they talked you into. You're at $70,000. You put down $7,000. You're financing $63,000 at 7% for 72 months. That monthly payment, it isn't $1,076. The real math comes out to $1,076 a month. Over 6 years, you'll pay $77,500 in total payments. Add your down payment, and you're at $84,500 all in. But here's the thing that should make your stomach hurt. By the time you make that final payment 6 years from now, that truck will be worth approximately $31,000. You paid $84,500 for something that's now worth $31,000. That's not an investment. That's lighting $53,500 on fire, except it took 6 years and you got to sit in leather seats while you did it. But we're not even to the devastating part yet. If instead of buying that truck, you'd bought a 3-year-old Civic for $15,000 cash and invested the $55,000 difference in a boring S&P 500 index fund at a conservative 7% return, here's what happens. You're 25 now. At 35, that $55,000 becomes $108,000. You've doubled your money by not buying the truck. At 45, it's $212,000. At 55, it's $417,000. At 65, when you're actually trying to retire, that same $55,000 has grown to $820,000 in today's dollars. One truck decision? The difference between retiring comfortably at 62 and working at Home Depot until you're 74 because you need the health insurance. Meanwhile, your college roommate bought a 2015 Honda Accord for $12,000 cash 3 years ago. He looks broke compared to you, but he's been investing $1,076 per month, the same amount you're sending to the bank. His investment account just crossed $43,000. You've made $38,700 in payments, and your truck has depreciated $21,000. He's up $43,000. You're down $60,000. The gap between you is over $100,000 after just 3 years, but nobody looking at you in a parking lot would know this. You look like you're winning. Let me show you what the next 7 years actually look like. Month 3, payment's fine, a little tight. You cancel the $180 gym membership, except you're not saving money on gas. The truck gets 18 miles per gallon. Your Civic got 34. You're spending $144 more monthly on fuel than you budgeted. Month 8, check engine light. Our faulty oxygen sensor, $380. You put it on a credit card. Year 2, insurance renewal, $2,680 annual premium. You budgeted $1,400. That's $223 per month just to legally park the thing. Year 3, Tires, all four, $1,200. You finance them because you don't have cash. Year 4, transmission service, brake job, alignment, $1,800 total. Your emergency fund, which was $4,000 when you bought the truck, is now $340. Year 5. The truck is worth $39,000. You owe $31,000. You've paid $68,200 and you own $8,000 of actual value. Year 6. Final payment. The truck needs $2,400 in suspension work, and your coworker just bought a new Ram TRX. The cycle begins again. Here's the truly devastating math. Most people don't just buy one expensive truck. They buy one every 7 years for their entire working life. Like person A buys a $70,000 truck every 7 years from age 25 to 60. That's 5 trucks. Person B buys an $18,000 used Camry on the same schedule. The monthly cost difference, payments, insurance, fuel, maintenance, is approximately $1,076. That $1,076 per month invested over 35 years at 7% real returns grows to $1,900,000. At 10% nominal returns, it's $3,800,000. Person A has spent their entire career making truck payments and has a 7-year-old truck worth maybe $35,000. Person B has between $1.9 and $3.8 million in investments. They endured the same commutes, bought the same groceries, lived the same life. One drove a nicer vehicle, the other became wealthy. And now we arrive at the part that should make you genuinely angry. This isn't just about one person making one bad decision. And this is a system designed to extract wealth from people who can least afford to lose it. The dealership makes about $2,400 on the sale itself. The big money is in financing. They get a commission of $630 to $1,260 from the bank. The extended warranty, $1,800 profit. Gap insurance, $400. Paint protection, $800. They made more money on add-ons and financing than on the actual truck. And they practice this every single day. You do this once every 7 years. This isn't a fair fight. The bank doesn't care if you can actually afford it long term. They care if you'll make 6 months of payments because by then they've bundled your loan with 10,000 others and sold it. Your risk is somebody else's problem now. The insurance company has calculated that people with large auto loans are more likely to file claims because they're financially stressed. You're subsidizing other people's poor decisions while making your own. And the marketing. Every truck commercial shows mountains, boats, lumber. They're selling identity and masculinity, except according to Strategic Vision, 75% of truck owners use their truck for towing once per year or less. Only 7% frequently tow anything. The most common use? Commuting to an office job. More than half of F-150 owners say they use their truck primarily to drive to work and sit in traffic. They're selling you a $70,000 costume that depreciates. Here's what makes this truly perverse. The people who can actually afford these trucks aren't buying them. Warren Buffett, worth $120 billion, drove a 2006 Cadillac DTS for nearly a decade. Sam Walton drove a 1979 Ford F-150 until he died in 1992. It's in a museum with his dog's teeth marks on the steering wheel. Mark Zuckerberg drives a Honda Fit. They understand something fundamental. Wealth isn't what you drive. It's what you own that generates income while you sleep. Meanwhile, the average American has $87,000 in total retirement savings, and they're driving $50,000 to $70,000 vehicles. The person who looks wealthy is broke. The person who is wealthy looks boring. Self-made millionaires overwhelmingly drive used Toyotas and Hondas, not because they're cheap, because they understand opportunity cost in their bones. You know what's actually impressive? Not needing to impress anyone. So what's the actual move? Let me give you the strategic alternatives. Strategy 1, the rental math. You need a truck bed 10 times per year. Rentals cost about $100 each. That's $1,000 annually. The annual cost of owning a $70,000 truck is approximately $15,900. You're spending $14,900 per year for convenience. That $14,900 invested at 7% over 30 years becomes $1,406,000. Strategy 2. Just buy the base model. An F-150 XL starts at $38,710. A King Ranch starts at $74,360. Towing capacity, identical. Payload, identical. What's the $35,650 difference? Leather seats, a better stereo, chrome trim. That $35,650 invested becomes $679,000 over 30 years. Strategy 3. Let someone else eat the depreciation. A new F-150 loses $9,800 the moment you drive it home. Buy a 3-year-old truck instead. Same truck, just $23,000 cheaper. That $23,000 becomes $439,000 over 30 years. Strategy 4, the Maverick Hybrid starts at $28,145, gets 42 miles per gallon, tows 4,000 pounds. Does what 90% of truck owners actually need. The $42,000 difference invested becomes $801,000. Plus, you save $2,400 per year on fuel, another $715,000 over 30 years. Total advantage, $1,516,000. Strategy 5. The nuclear option. Buy a 3-year-old Camry for $18,000 cash. Total annual cost, $4,100 versus $15,900 for the truck. The $11,800 annual difference invested becomes $1,113,000. Over 30 years, you lived the same life and became a millionaire. The only difference is what you were sitting in. The goal isn't to be miserable in a terrible car. The goal is to recognize that every vehicle dollar carries a 10 to 15 times multiplier over a career of compounding. A $70,000 truck is really a $700,000 to $1 million decision. An $18,000 used car is really a $180,000 to $270,000 decision. These aren't purchases, they're investments, either in a depreciating asset or in your future. You can't make both. Here's what nobody tells you when you're standing in that dealership. That salesman asking what payment works for you, that's a script he's done 11,000 times. You've done it twice. He knows that if he keeps you thinking in monthly payments instead of total cost, he wins. The bank doesn't care if you can afford it long term. They care if you'll make 6 months of payments before they bundle and sell your loan. And nobody in the system has incentive to tell you the truth. You're about to destroy $500,000 in retirement wealth for a vehicle that will make you 0% happier 6 months from now. Researchers call it hedonic adaptation. The happiness boost from a new vehicle lasts 8 to 12 weeks. Then you're back to baseline. The truck just becomes the thing you drive. Except the payments don't go back to baseline. The opportunity cost doesn't. You're paying $61,200 for 10 weeks of excitement. You could have taken 12 actual vacations for the same money. Our culture makes you feel like this is normal, like debt is just adulthood. Like working to pay for a depreciating asset is somehow responsibility. It's not, it's a trap. And you can choose not to step in it, because here's the secret wealthy people understand. Looking rich and being rich are inversely correlated. People driving $70,000 trucks are usually broke. People driving $15,000 Camrys are often millionaires. One group optimizes for appearance and the other optimizes for reality. The median American has $87,000 saved for retirement. People aged 55 to 64 have a median of $185,000. They need about $1.26 million. They're $1 million short, and many are driving vehicles that cost them $500,000 in opportunity cost. You cannot spend your way to wealth. You cannot finance your way to freedom. And here's what really gets me about this entire situation. We've normalized financial stress to the point where people think it's just part of being a responsible adult. You're supposed to have car payments. You're supposed to be stretched thin. You're supposed to feel that low-level anxiety about money constantly humming in the background of your life. But that's not normal. That's not how wealth is built. That's how wealth is destroyed month by month, payment by payment, until you wake up at 65 and realize you spent 40 years working to make banks, dealerships, and insurance companies rich while you stayed broke. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. It's just not designed for you to win. Let me tell you what $500,000 in retirement actually means in practical terms. Using the 4% withdrawal rule, which is the standard safe withdrawal rate that financial planners recommend, $500,000 generates $20,000 per year in retirement income. That's $1,667 per month for the rest of your life, without touching the principal. That truck you bought at 25 didn't just cost you $70,000. It cost you $1,667 per month for every month of your retirement. That's your grocery budget, that's your utilities, that's your ability to travel, to help your kids, to not worry about whether you can afford your medications. Every time you make that $1,076 truck payment, you're not just paying for transportation. You're trading away your future freedom at a rate of $2 of retirement income for every dollar you spend today. And here's the part that should genuinely terrify you. Right, according to recent data, auto loan delinquencies are at their highest level since the Great Recession. Over 7 million Americans are 90 days or more behind on their car payments. Repossessions are surging. Like, people are losing their vehicles and still owing thousands of dollars on loans for trucks they no longer own. The system doesn't just want your money, it wants you trapped in a cycle where you're always one missed payment away from disaster. And the craziest part? Most of these people genuinely believed they could afford the truck when they bought it. The math worked on paper, the monthly payment fit in the budget, they did everything the dealership told them to do, and they're still drowning. I'm not trying to be preachy or tell you how to live your life. I'm trying to show you a reality that the entire automotive financial complex desperately wants to keep hidden. Every $1,000 you spend on a depreciating vehicle is roughly $15,000 you won't have in retirement. Every car payment is a choice between looking successful now and actually being successful later. Every time you walk into a dealership focused on monthly payments instead of total cost, you're playing a game where the house always wins and you always lose. The difference between financial stress and financial freedom often comes down to one decision. The decision to stop trying to look wealthy and start actually building wealth. And for most people, that decision starts with what they drive. Think about it this way. That $1,076 monthly truck payment over 6 years equals $77,500. But if you took that same $1,076 and put it into a retirement account instead, by the time you're 65, it wouldn't just be $77,500. With compound interest over 40 years, it would be over $900,000. That's the real cost, not the sticker price on the truck. Not even the total you'll pay with interest. The real cost is what that money would have become if you just let it grow. You're not buying a $70,000 truck, you're buying a $70,000 truck and simultaneously selling almost $1 million of your future. And the dealership doesn't mention that part because if they did, nobody would ever sign the papers. Here's another way to think about the scale of this wealth destruction. The average American will own 13 cars in their lifetime. If each of those cars costs $35,000 on average, which is actually conservative by today's standards, that's $455,000 in direct vehicle spending over a lifetime. But remember the multiplier. That $455,000, if invested instead at 7% average returns over a working career, would compound into approximately $3.2 million. Most Americans will spend the equivalent of $3.2 million in retirement wealth just on transportation over their lifetime. And then they wonder why they can't retire. They can't retire because they spent their retirement money driving to work for 40 years. The math is that simple and that brutal. And here's what makes this especially tragic. Most people making these truck buying decisions are good people trying to do the right thing. They worked hard for the promotion. They feel like they earned the right to drive something nice. They genuinely believe that owning a new truck is part of being a successful adult. The culture has told them this their entire lives. Their parents drove new cars, their friends drive new cars, every commercial, every movie, every message they've ever received about success includes the image of a nice vehicle. So they sign the papers thinking they're moving forward in life, when actually they're locking themselves into a cycle that will prevent them from ever building real wealth. It's not their fault. It's a system designed to exploit their natural desire for success and status, but understanding that the system is rigged doesn't protect you from it. Only changing your behavior does. I'm not saying never buy a nice vehicle. I'm saying understand the multiplier first. Understand that the $1,076 payment that feels manageable at 25 becomes the reason you're still working at 67. The choice isn't between being smart with money or enjoying life. The choice is between looking successful now and being successful later. You can't have both. So next time you're in a dealership and a salesman asks what payment works, you can smile and say 0. I'm buying a 3-year-old Camry for cash and investing the difference. Then you walk away, and 30 years later, you're on a beach you own, retired at 55, while everyone you know is still working to pay off the truck they bought to impress people they don't even like. That's the real flex. That's the move nobody wants you to figure out. But now you know, and once you know, you can't unknow. The question is what you're gonna do about it.